Hi, now that we've got the hardware and software set up, we get into the power supply. It's important that we check the voltages and make sure that everything is proper before we get started. At this point, you should have the power supply connected up. You may or may not have any LEDs blinking because we haven't programmed the PIC chips yet, or the basic stamp chips yet. You should have LEDs lit up. You have a power LED over here. You have a 9-volt LED and a 5-volt LED. So the first measurement we're going to make is on our supply voltage. Okay? You measure it on the top of this diode right here. Okay? That'll be our measuring point right there. Okay? We'll need to set the oscilloscope up. We're going to move the seconds per division to 100 microseconds. Change it to 10 volts per division. Okay? And then next thing we want to do is we want to turn the trigger mode to off. Okay? And take our measurement. As you can see, we're up here. The line will go from 0 to 30 volts. And you can see that. You can see it toggling back and forth there. Okay? I'll toggle it back and forth a few times so you can see it going up and down. Okay? So we're there. Now, to get an accurate measurement, we're going to move down here to the little measurement window. And you can see we're at 29.4 volts, which is perfect. That's our voltage input measurement. Now, on your voltage regulator, your primary high voltage regulator, this regulator will work, will take an input up to 60 volts. And it's a switching regulator, and its output we can measure right here on this diode. Okay? But first, before we do that, we need to change the scope. We need to again change the scope to 5 microseconds per division. Okay, 5 microseconds per division. And we're also at 10 volts per division. And we're going to put on the video. Now you can see how it's all moving around and it's not synchronized. We're going to come down here to the trigger and put it on continuous mode. Okay, then we come back on up and grab, this is our trigger. We can move it up and down. We'll pull it down here and you can see we're now triggered. That's a good waveform. Okay, what we're going to do now is vary the input voltage. Okay, I'm going to vary the input voltage and you'll see that waveform change. Okay, you can see it change slightly. Okay, and I'm going to go all the way up to 40 volts. So it's depending on where your power supply is set at, you should see something anywhere in this with a screen display like that. We're going to go back to 30 volts. Okay, and there's our 30 volt setting. Okay. Now, we want to look at the voltage reference. The voltage reference is what sets your output voltage for your high voltage section, and that's right down here to the left side of R44. Okay. Now we want to change our settings for our scope. Turn the trigger off. Okay. And we want to change our volts per division. Go down to 5 volts per division. Okay. I got to make sure I've got a good connection here. And you see down in the measuring pane, we've got a voltage of 2.17 volts. That's a good reference voltage right there. Okay? So our voltage reference is fine. Okay? If your output is not correct, if you do not have a 12 volt output off this regulator, you need to check the two resistors R43 and R44 down here on the board. R43 is here, R44 is there. They set up the voltage divider. And if you could, you'll see the location on these two here. You've got R43 here, and R44 is right here. Okay. Our next set is we want to check our 12-volt output. Okay. We're going to do that on the right side. I say right side, actually it should be the left side of R43. Okay. And if you look at that, you'll see that we have on our screen, we didn't need to change the section, you see it jumping up. Okay. And in this case, we have our resistor setting and our voltage out of the regulator is 9.8 volts. 9.89, 9.9 volts. Okay. Okay. Next setting will be our 5-volt regulator. Okay. That's very simple to do. We just need to zoom in right here and take our measurement right here. At this point on the board, on the capacitor, right next to the LED, and you can see we've got 4.89 volts. Okay. Now let's talk about some LEDs over here. We have our LED that's down behind the capacitors here. You can see the red glow of it from right here. That red glow is your voltage in LED. That's an indicator that you have voltage in. Okay. This LED right here is LED to indicate that you have a regulated 12 volts or 9 volts depending on what you have your regulator output setting. And finally, this LED right here means you've got a good 5 volts. If all three of those LEDs are on and you have all the proper voltages there, you just had a successful check out of the power supply section. What we'll be getting to next is check out of the communication and actually talking to and programming the boards.